So I want to share with you the real four agreements, right? I don't know if you've read this book from Don Miguel Ruiz. Shout out to him. I mean, this is a great book. This is not a video talking shit about the book, or talking something negative. On the contrary, I think it's pretty amazing how far this book has reached in the world, where everyone is reading it from all different cultures, different countries, and this is like an initiation or an introduction into the Toltec wisdom. Toltec, the Toltecayotl, Toltecidad. And this, what is a Toltec? Well, I've done videos explaining it, and this is not the purpose of this video. This is just to first and foremost remind you that this is an interpretation. All right, this is an interpretation. My video is an interpretation. And the point here is we all must become people of our own experience. You should not take his word for granted. You should not take my word for granted unless you put it into your own experience. Unless you put it into action, you actually prove it. Because these four agreements, yeah, they may sound really cool, but how could you know unless you actually live them, right? But a Toltec is a cult person. In other words, it's a cultivated person, a wise person. The first form of transcription with the priests that they were trying to translate Nahuatl, the ancient language from America, into Spanish. They wrote, a priest wrote down, Toltec means the art of living. Isn't that funny? The art of living. So the wisdom of the Toltecs is the art of life. It's similar to, we all know about yoga. We all know about Buddhism. We all know about this, the chakras and all these things. And it's part of our daily lives in the Western civilization, in the Eastern civilization, and everywhere. Now everyone knows and speaks about this being more holistic and being more spiritual and all these things and astrology. It's perfect. Here in the ancient America, people from ancient America, from Semanahuac is what it was the name of ancient America. Semanahuac and Tahuantinsuyo, because Semanahuac was from Nicaragua all the way up to Alaska. They shared a similar form of vision of the cosmos, a cosmovision, right? A cosmology. They shared similar concepts that rule the individual, the world, and the cosmos. And there are four concepts that they understood. They are very, very profound and deep concepts that are everywhere. And of course, in this little book, you're not gonna find out about everything. Actually, it's not in books. I mean, you can read a lot of books. I could recommend you more books, but it's beyond that, of course. And also, imagine how much time they took to develop and refine these concepts, this culture, this ancient culture of the, people call it Aztecs. They were not called Aztecs, but Toltecs. Toltecs were the kind of like similar to yogis, like elevated people, wise people that elevated their consciousness and their level of vibration to such high places where they could understood physical things, emotional things, mental things, and spiritual things. They connected and united all of these different aspects of existence, and they had to train a lot, not just in spirituality or in books. They had to learn about the movement of the stars. They had to learn about mathematics, geometry, sacred geometry. They had to learn about of course, martial arts. They had to learn about music, poetry, dance. They had to learn about everything. So they were basically embodiments of what living truly is. Of I don't want to say perfect, but an approach in perfection of human life, in coexisting with the environment. That was a Toltec. And my culture has so much to offer. That's why I'm doing it in English even, right? Because, I could do it just in Spanish for Mexicans, but I believe that we can share so much. The Toltec wisdom has so much to share. Similar to yoga and all these different cultures, we can offer something. and I think it's a time for you to learn something deeper about these concepts. Don't just leave it in one book. This is a great book, and this is just an introduction of the true deep meaning of Toltec wisdom, of Toltecayotl. Let's look at the first agreement, all right? These agreements, it's oversimplifying it, basically, right? Don't take anything for granted. Do your best, which is actually the concept of being impeccable. Impeccability was a deep concept in all ancient Americans. I don't know them all, I've read this book a long time ago and I don't have them here. What I do have, though, is these ancient fundamental aspects and forces that reign everything in ourselves, which can be understood as the four elements: fire, air, earth, and water, right? It could be understood also as north, south, east, west. These elements are everywhere and make up existence as we know it, as we perceive it now. And it's beautiful how it was recorded in several books that are beyond interpretations, historic books beyond like a coaching approach or a mentorship approach. I'm giving you my own interpretation as well, but I got this from people, from spending time with native people, an oral tradition, from experiencing them on my own, from cultivating these concepts within myself, and of course with ancient sacred texts like the Toltecayotl, which is the ancient book, the sacred book of the Nahuas, of the Toltecs. Let's look at the first agreement, the four real agreements. The first agreement would be Xipetotec. This is a concept of renewal, reminding us and inviting us to cultivate renewal within ourselves. Because whatever stops growing in life, it dies. It gets forgotten. We see it in nature, how everything is a cycle. Everything is renewing itself. The snakes are shedding the skin. The butterfly, the caterpillar, in quotes, dies to become the butterfly. The earth dies itself, goes through a cycle of death when it comes to winter, and then renewal on spring. Xipetotec, the red Tezcatlipoca, this first agreement, it's about renewing yourself. So cultivate all these four aspects that I'm going to share. These four agreements is about cultivating them within you, because they exist with you. You just have to cultivate them, work upon them. It's like a muscle. A muscle exists within you, whether you work it or not. It's there. The more you work it, the better it'll get, right? The more efficient it'll become. So this first concept that we have within us is the concept of renewal. Sometimes we think that we're lost because we failed. We experience failure, we experience hardship, and we think that, that's it for me. I'm a fucking failure. I'm not gonna be able to come back again. No, everything is a cycle, and it's okay to shift from time to time. If you don't change your clothes from time to time, then what the hell are you doing? We live in a society, and I just mentioned that as an example, clothes, because I have a background of being an image consultant. But if you don't change your friendships, or you don't get new friendships, or if you don't read new books, let's say that you've read one book in your entire life and you just live your life based on that book, which a lot of people do it, with the holy text, the holy book. But let's not get into that. Just one book. There's literally thousands and thousands of books out there that will benefit you, but because you're very structured and you cannot change, people that live like that, very structured, very unmovable, they get lost. If they don't upgrade themselves with the current times, with technology, businesses die, people get forgotten, works get forgotten. So you must renew yourself, and it's okay to change, to transform yourself, right? That's what this concept is reminding us, to cultivate transformation within us, renewal. Remember the cycles of life. The second agreement is the black Tezcatlipoca, Yayauki, or Toltecayotl. This concept reminds us of confronting ourselves. In other words, it's the shadow work, right? This is now a common terminology within the spiritual community, confronting the unseen part of you. Those things that you're neglecting, those things that you're leaving behind because you're ashamed of them, because you're scared of them, because you don't want to confront them, because you don't want to acknowledge them. Those traumas that you're holding, or they're holding you back, that you keep deep, very deep down within your subconscious mind. But guess what? If you don't take control of them, if you don't bring them out, acknowledge them, confront them, to then integrate them as a part of your life, you'll never be fully you. You'll be living in a splitted way. There'll be two versions of you. You'll never be fully yourself and in tune with your true mission in this life, with your purpose, experiencing your true self. You know, that's a beautiful feeling, and it leads up to confidence, magnetic confidence, to beautiful self-esteem beyond ego. It's because you know who you are, you know your place, you know what you're supposed to do in this earth, and you know that you're part of everything. You don't have to be someone, to remind someone, hey, I am someone. You just know that you are a part of the everything, man, and that you matter, and that you are enough, and that you have enough. So this concept, Tezcatlipoca, you know, it's reminding us of our worst enemy. Our worst enemy is always ourselves. That little voice holding you back, maybe putting yourself out there on a video. But it's never perfect. What are people, what are others going to think about it? All these little things, all these little voices holding you back, that's your worst enemy. So you must confront it. So this concept is about cultivating, first and foremost, introspection, right? Introspection. You need to do some cleanup. You're carrying a lot of baggage that is not really yours. It was laid on top of you, and you admitted it, and you accepted it, and you just carry it with you. So it's doing some cleanup inside of yourself. You're going into your subconscious mind to see within yourself and be brutally honest. You know, why am I really doing this? You know, why do I want to impress so much people that don't even know me? You know, like, why the fuck do I care so much about the opinions of others that they don't even care about me, right? So introspection, to then acknowledging those aspects, buried aspects of you, the shadow part of you, confronting them. Confrontation is a bad word in today's world, isn't it? Like, we have a negative connotation towards confrontation. Confrontation is not negative. Confrontation means you know your boundaries. You know what sits with you, you know what doesn't sit with you. And you're willing to say, like, nope, this is not for me. And it doesn't mean anything bad. How many people are struggling just with that? The ability to say, no, thanks, no, I don't want it, without having to explain yourself, simply because you know that it doesn't vibe with you. A business opportunity, you know, a business idea, a person, a place, something. Okay, so confrontation is being in front of them, of your fears, your worst enemy, all those things, and not fleeing from them, not going into your comfort zones with drinking, eating, dependency with relationships. Is staying there and confronting them, to then, of course, integrate them, uniting them, because you are darkness, you are light, you are all of that, you are masculine, feminine, together. What you gotta do is you gotta unite them, and Tezcatlipoca reminds us of that. The third agreement is Quetzalcoatl, Yowali Quetzalcoatl, Ehecatl, which reminds us of where we truly come from. There is something that is beyond our body and beyond our mind. We tend to be too logical sometimes. It's just what we structure, logic, brain. We think that this is the brain and this is the mind, only what's here, and that's not it. Life is not just about this existence, you know. It's just about me being a Mexican with a big ass mustache, being a man, making videos, and that's it. That's my life. I wake up, I go to work, I pay the bills, I procreate, I get married, and that's my life. No, this concept invites us to cultivate that which is beyond the body and the mind. Could be understood as the spirit. Could be understood as our spirituality, cultivating spirituality. This will wither away. This will be forgotten. But our true essence is infinite, right? This energy that we come from. It's a potential for our spirituality. And a lot of people think that we need priests, we need shamans, we need these wise gurus so that they can come here and tell us and enlighten us. No, Quetzalcoatl reminds us that with your own virtues, with your own work and dedication, you can elevate yourself. You can transcend, that is the word, transcend the body and the mind, and elevate yourself and get into higher aspects of consciousness, and be aware of life and death and how everything is connected. Basically entering into the divine consciousness, reminding ourselves, where do we come from really, which is that primordial force. And that, in a sense, gives us more connection with one another, right? So the third agreement, the third fundamental aspect is cultivating transcendence, right? How? Meditation, smudging, something like that, nature walks. Something that gets you outside of your mundane routines. Something that doesn't get you just physical pleasure, Something that moves you forward, like the Kundalini awakening. It's similar to that. The Toltecs knew about the Kundalini as well. They knew about chakras as well, and they used to call it cuecuellos, balls of energy. And the cuecuellos, they understood that through certain movements, similar to yoga, or through certain understanding of the mind, of the gut, the heart, and the brain, and through certain breath work, through certain rituals, ceremonies, through the taking of certain things, through meditation, through mental silence, you could achieve these altered higher states of consciousness. And when you're there, your whole life shifts. The fourth and last agreement is Huitzilopochtli. Huitzilopochtli reminds us of the heart, the force, the willpower, the courage to live accordingly to what we think we are, to live accordingly to what we want to create in life. We have the ability to create what we want, to look at the conditions of life and say, I don't like it, I'm gonna do something about it. But that requires a lot of commitment, a lot of dedication, and that of course needs heart, needs courage, needs willpower. It requires your will. If you want to get healthy, you want to eat healthy, you want to go to the gym and have a healthier body, you need willpower to actually do it on a daily basis, right? To make the right choice, you need to listen to your heart, because your heart never knows how to lie. Here, sometimes it becomes like a monster, this unstoppable chatter that has so many different things. Some belong to you, some belong to TV shows and advertising and movies, some belong to your friends, some belong to the society that you live in, some belong to the country, some belong to I don't know, man, to family, friends, and what's here, it can lead you astray from your true path. What's here in the heart, it always knows. So get into the habit of consulting everything with your heart. Even this very video, if it makes sense, consult it with your heart. That way you'll never be wrong. And this last four agreement reminds us of being connected with our heart. And the heart is a form of brain. There's neurons here in the heart as well. And we send more electromagnetism. We create more information actually from the heart to the brain than the brain to the heart. And we create more energy from here. And this is the middle part. This is the one that connects the first three cuecuellos and the last three cuecuellos, the higher self and the lower self, kind of like Kundalini, like I was saying. So Huitzilopochtli reminds us of our heart, our connection to one another, you know, but also the power of the warrior, the commitment, the dedication. That's why in the ancient Mexicans, the Mexicas, the warriors took him as a personal saint, you know, as a personal god, which was not a god, it was a concept. But they used to call him, and most people, most historians call Huitzilopochtli the god of war. It was not the god of war, it was just the god of willpower, tremendous willpower, unstoppable willpower, so that you can go and do what you're saying that you're going to do, to live your life congruently. Are you being congruent with who you think you are, with what you say you are? You know, what you think, what you say, and how you act. Are they aligned? You need willpower to align them. So that's it for today. Thank you for listening to the wisdom of my ancestors, the Toltecs, the 4 real agreements. Remember, the first one, Xipetotec, the red Tezcatlipoca, renewal, transformation. The second one, Necocyautl, or Yayauki, the black Tezcatlipoca, which was introspection and confrontation, integration. The third one, Quetzalcoatl, Ejecatl, transcendence, you know, getting into the spirit, connecting with your spiritual side, connecting with that primordial energy. You can call it the universe, you can call it God, you can call it Ometeotl, whatever. We're talking about the same thing. And then the last one, Huitzilopochtli, the heart. Always listen to the heart and have the courage to follow it. Have the willpower to apply the necessary energy and live accordingly. So that's it for today. Thank you. Be the best version of yourself. Ometeotl.